Ching by Lao Tzu. The eternal Tao cannot be named or fully spoken, for the nameless is the origin of heaven and earth, while the named gives birth to the 10,000 things. And only by freeing oneself from desire can one perceive its mystery. Beauty and ugliness, good and evil, arise together as opposites that define each other. So the sage acts without striving, teaches without words, creates without claiming, and accomplishes without attachment. By not exalting the talented or prizing rare goods, the sage empties minds of ambition, fills bellies with simplicity, and keeps the people free from knowledge and desire, so that order arises naturally. The Tao is an empty yet inexhaustible vessel, older than the gods, that blunts sharpness, unties tangles, dims brightness, and merges with dust, while remaining deep and unfathomable. Heaven and earth are impartial, treating all things like straw dogs, so the sage remains centered like a bellows, empty yet never exhausted, speaking little and preserving inner stillness. The valley spirit, called the mysterious female, never dies, and serves as the root of heaven and earth, its gate always present for gentle, continuous use. Heaven and earth endure because they do not live for themselves. Therefore the sage puts himself last and finds himself first, remaining detached yet preserved. The highest good is like water, which benefits all things without striving, and flows to lowly places. So the sage dwells near the ground, speaks with sincerity, governs with justice, and acts in timely harmony. Better to stop when the cup is full than to overfill it, for over-sharpened blades blunt quickly, and excessive wealth invites misfortune. So withdraw when the work is done in accordance with heaven. Can you embrace body and soul as one? Breathe gently like an infant. Cleanse your vision. Love the people without meddling, and lead while remaining detached. This is the mysterious virtue. 30 spokes share a hub, yet usefulness comes from the empty center. Clay forms a vessel and walls create a room, but their value lies in the space within. What is not there makes what is there useful. The 5 colors blind the eye, the 5 tones deafen the ear, and the 5 flavors dull the taste. So the sage attends to the belly rather than the eye, letting go of excess desire. Honor and disgrace are both sources of fear, and favor is as alarming as its loss. Therefore, the sage treats the world as a sacred guest, remaining cautious, yielding, and empty like uncarved wood. The Tao is formless, soundless, and intangible, vague yet containing all forms, dark yet holding the essence. So hold to the ancient Tao to understand the beginning of all things. The ancient masters were subtle, profound, and responsive, appearing cautious as one crossing the winter stream, yielding as melting ice, and opaque as muddy water that settles into clarity through stillness. Empty the mind and attain perfect stillness to witness all things return to their source. For knowing this unchanging constancy brings insight, openness, and oneness with the eternal Tao. The best rulers are barely known, the next are loved and praised, then feared, then despised. When trust is absent, the people lose trust, so the greatest accomplish their task, and the people say they did it themselves. When the great Tao is forgotten, artificial kindness and morality appear. When wisdom arises, hypocrisy follows, and when harmony is lost, filial piety and loyalty emerge as signs of disorder. Abandon sainthood and wisdom, so the people benefit 100-fold. Renounce kindness and morality, so natural affection returns. And give up cleverness and profit, so thieves disappear. Remain simple, selfless, and desireless. Give up learning to end trouble, while others feast and rejoice. The sage remains calm and unconcerned, like an infant drifting without home, yet nourished by the Great Mother. The greatest virtue follows the Tao, which is vague and elusive, yet contains real forms and essences, and one knows its truth by looking within. Yield, and you will overcome. Bend, and you will be straight. Empty, and you will be full. The sage embraces the One, does not show off, and thus remains whole. Speaking little is natural, for violent winds and storms do not last. One who follows the Tao becomes one with it, welcomed by virtue or by loss, according to his nature. Standing on tiptoe is unstable. Striding cannot be sustained, and self-display, boasting, or arrogance prevent endurance. For such excess is like leftover waste, avoided by the Tao. Before heaven and earth there was something formless and perfect, called the Tao, great, flowing everywhere, returning to the origin, followed by heaven, earth, and man in natural order. The heavy is the root of the light, and stillness masters restlessness, so the sage travels without leaving his baggage, and remains calm even amid splendor. A good traveler leaves no tracks, a good speaker makes no slips, and the sage saves people without rejection, and saves things without waste. This is following the light. Know the male, yet keep to the female, and become the valley of the universe. Know the white, yet keep to the black, and return to the infinite. Know honor, yet keep to humility, and return to uncarved simplicity. You cannot improve or take over the sacred universe without ruining it. So the sage lets things come and go without possessing, expecting, or striving. One who follows the Tao does not rely on weapons, for violence rebounds. The sage accomplishes his task and then lets go without boasting or claiming credit. Weapons are tools of fear, not the tools of the wise, who use them only when there is no choice, and mourn victory as a funeral. The Tao is forever undefined and small, yet cannot be grasped. If rulers could hold it, all things would follow naturally, and sweet dew would fall in peace. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing oneself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering oneself is true power. He who knows enough is rich, and he who dies without perishing is long-lived. The great Tao flows everywhere, giving life without claiming or dominating. So though all things return to it, it remains humble and thus accomplishes greatness. Hold fast to the great image, and the world comes peacefully. The Tao is mild to the taste, invisible and inaudible, yet inexhaustible when used. To shrink something, first let it expand. To weaken, first let it strengthen. The soft overcomes the hard, and the weak overcomes the strong. So sharp weapons should not be displayed. The Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. If rulers could hold it, things would transform naturally, and simplicity would bring freedom from desire and perfect peace. Highest virtue acts without striving and is effortless, while lower virtue acts with effort. When the Tao is lost, virtue, kindness, justice, and ritual appear in declining order. Heaven, earth, spirits, valleys, and all things attain oneness and thrive. The humble is the root of the noble, so kings call themselves orphans and worthless to remain grounded. Return is the movement of the Tao, and yielding is its way. The 10,000 things are born of being, and being is born of non-being. When the superior man hears the Tao, he cultivates it diligently. The average man wavers, and the foolish man laughs. Thus the bright path seems dark, and the great square has no corners. The Tao gives birth to one, one to two, two to three, and three to the 10,000 things. All carry yin and embrace yang to achieve harmony. The softest thing overcomes the hardest, and that without substance enters where there is no opening, revealing the benefit of non-action. Fame or integrity, money or happiness, which is more important? Be content with what you have, and the whole world belongs to you. Great perfection seems incomplete, yet is never exhausted. The greatest straightness seems crooked, and the greatest skill clumsy, while stillness overcomes heat, and movement overcomes cold. When the Tao prevails, war horses fertilize fields. When it is absent, they breed on battlegrounds. There is no greater misfortune than discontent, so knowing enough brings lasting satisfaction. Without leaving the door, one can know the world. Without looking out the window, one can see the way of heaven. The further one goes, the less one knows. So the sage knows without traveling. In pursuing knowledge, one gains daily, but in pursuing the Tao, one loses daily, until reaching non-action, where nothing is left undone. The sage has no fixed mind, but takes the people's mind as his own, treating the good and not good with equal goodness, and the faithful and unfaithful with equal faithfulness. Between birth and death, those who follow life or death are few, while most merely pass through. He who truly knows how to live cannot be harmed by weapons or beasts, because he has no place for death to enter. The Tao gives birth, virtue nourishes, matter forms, and environment shapes all beings. The sage creates without possessing and guides without interfering. This is mysterious virtue. The beginning of the universe is the mother of all things. Know the mother to know the children. Block the openings and close the doors to remain untroubled, and use the light to return to insight. If one has even a little sense, one walks the main road and fears only straying. Yet people prefer side paths while courts are splendid, fields weedy, and granaries empty. This is not the Tao. What is firmly rooted cannot be pulled up. Cultivate virtue in yourself, family, village, nation, and world, and it will flourish everywhere. Look at the world through the world. He who is in harmony with the Tao is like a newborn child, soft yet strong, able to scream all day without hoarseness, knowing harmony is constancy and forcing life is ominous. Those who know do not speak, and those who speak do not know. Block the openings, blunt sharpness, and merge with dust. This is the mysterious union beyond approach or harm. Govern the state with integrity. Use the military with cunning, and rule the world with non-action. The more laws there are, the poorer the people. So the sage takes no action, and the people transform themselves. When government is dull, the people are content. When active, they are restless. Misfortune hides good fortune, and good fortune hides misfortune. So the sage is square but not cutting, bright but not dazzling. In governing and serving heaven, nothing surpasses moderation, which allows early return to the Tao, accumulation of virtue, and endurance through deep roots and firm foundation. Ruling a great state is like cooking a small fish. When the Tao prevails, evil spirits lose power to harm, and the sage also refrains from harm, so virtue flows back and forth. A great state is like a lowland, and the female of the world, lying low to conquer or serve. Each gains what it wants when the greater lies lower. The Tao is the treasure of the good and refuge of the bad. It cannot be bought, so remain still and offer the Tao rather than costly gifts. It is the greatest treasure. Act without doing. Work without effort, taste the tasteless, and handle the great while it is still small. The sage never attempts anything great, and thus accomplishes greatness. What is at rest is easy to hold, and what has not arisen is easy to plan. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, so deal with difficulties while they are small, and do not interfere at the end. Ancient masters kept the people simple rather than enlightened, for cleverness makes governance difficult. Governing without cleverness is a blessing and leads to mysterious virtue. The sea is king of streams because it lies below them. So the sage speaks as if below the people and puts himself behind them, becoming exalted without oppression. The Tao is great and resembles nothing else. Its three treasures are compassion, frugality, and not daring to be first. Compassion brings courage and victory, and heaven saves the compassionate. The best soldier is not soldierly, the best fighter not ferocious, and the best employer beneath his men. This is the virtue of non-striving and using others' strength. The strategist dares not advance an inch, but would rather retreat a foot, marching without moving and capturing without attacking. Underestimating the enemy leads to loss, so sorrowful forces win. My words are easy to understand and practice, yet few understand them. The sage wears rough clothing, but holds the jewel in his heart. To know that one does not know is best. Pretending to know when one does not is a disease, and only by recognizing the disease can one be cured. When people no longer fear authority, greater authority arises. The sage knows himself but does not show himself, and loves himself without exalting himself. He who is bold in daring dies. He who is bold in not daring lives. Heaven does not strive, yet overcomes, does not speak, yet is answered, and casts a wide net that misses nothing. If people do not fear death, threatening them with it is useless. Taking the place of the master executioner is like clumsily using the great carpenter's tools, and likely to injure oneself. People suffer famine because rulers take too much tax, are rebellious because rulers interfere too much, and take death lightly because rulers demand too much of life. Man is supple and weak when born, stiff and hard when dead. The soft and weak are companions of life, while the stiff and hard are companions of death. So the supple overcomes the hard. The Tao of heaven is like bending a bow, lowering the high and raising the low, taking from the rich to give to the poor, while man does the opposite. The sage acts without claiming. Nothing is softer than water, yet it overcomes the hardest. The weak overcomes the strong, and the soft the hard. So the one who bears the state's humiliation becomes its true ruler. After a bitter quarrel, some resentment remains. The sage keeps his half of the bargain, but demands nothing. For the Tao of heaven is impartial and sides with the good. Let the state be small and the people few. Though they have boats and carriages, they do not ride them, enjoying simple food, beautiful clothes, and secure homes without traveling to neighbors. True words are not beautiful, and beautiful words are not true. The good do not argue, and the wise are not learned. The sage does not hoard, but gives more and has more, acting bountifully without contending.